it's Elizabeth with Rose Barn Embroidery Designs, and today we're going to be going over the how-to for our new bag, which is the Jelly Bean Wallet. It will come in two different zipper sizes, the number 5 and the number 3. There is only a one size wallet, so it is for a 6x10 or bigger, and it does require multiple hoopings. And in this tutorial, we're going to go over all the hoopings and how to save some time if you have a bigger hoop. So if you have the 8x12 hoop or the 9x14 and you want to do this bag, you can actually combine two of the steps into one hoop, which is the handle and the zipper pocket. And you can combine those into one hoop. If you do not and you only have a 6x10, unfortunately you will have to do all 4 hoopings if you want to do the zipper pocket. This is the wallet, and as you can see, it has these both have the zipper pocket. You can eliminate the zipper pocket, and I will go over that in a little bit when we get to that point. But both of these do have the zipper pocket, and these are both the 6x10. This is the number 5, and this is the number 3 zipper. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go over for our first hoop, which I already did run because it is just a simple little tab. It's already in my hoop. So now what I've already set up the box right here for running our zipper placement. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our zipper in the box. So like I told you, we went ahead, we did run our tab for this, and since we do have a big hoop, we're going to go ahead and do them both, the zipper pocket and the tab in one hoop. Again, I've already ran this. It's very simple. It's just 2 pieces of fabric on top of each other. I do have the snap in here already, but you can also wait and you can do the snap at the very end. It is completely up to you. I went ahead and I did run our box. What I'm going to do is I am going to mark that this is the right side of our hoop. So this side should always be facing us when we put it in the hoop, because I get confused sometimes. Now we're going to go ahead and take our zipper tape and we're going to place it in. I'm actually going to go ahead and use this zipper tape. This actually is a little bit of a glue. It works just like tape. And this one's water soluble. So if you wanted to, you can wash this and it will come off. But I'm only going to put a little bit because a little bit of this tape actually goes a very long way. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take the paper off. I believe this is called Wonder zipper tape. I'm not 100% sure. I did get this from Amazon, and I can link that in the description below. And you can see there's the tape on the top, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and we're going to place it in our box. Leave your tab out. Do not move your tab in yet. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this over to our machine and we're going to run our tack down for our zipper. But like I said, a little bit goes a long way. We did run our placement stitches. Now I'm going to actually go over quickly the materials for this in particular hoop. You're going to need 2 pieces of 10 by 4. One for the outside lining, one for the inside lining. 2 10 by 5 pieces. Again, one for the inside lining, one for the outside lining for the bottom. Then you're actually going to need 2 10 by 7 pieces. I'm actually going to be using the exact same fabric. One's going to be for the inside lining and one's going to be for the outside lining. So when you make the pocket, your pocket, you have the lining pieces both being the fabric that you choose for your lining. If you want, you can use the same fabric, but I like to do the 2 pieces to give it a little bit more structure, and it's not going to be see-through. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take our two 7x4 pieces. And here is our fabric. This is from Hapa Fabrics. What you're going to do is you're going to place it like upside down. So you want your print, if you're using a directional print, you want to make sure the print is facing towards you and it's going that way. And you're going to put it upside down and you're going to be placing it right up against the zipper tape. So that way when you fold it over later, it's upside right. You're going to go ahead and place it. I'm going to go ahead and run some tape. Do not be afraid of the tape. The tape is your friend. It helps keep the pieces together. And if you use masking tape, do not worry about the stitches going over the masking tape because it's actually really, really easy. It's kind of like tearaway stabilizer. It's very easy to just kind of rip off. So I'm just going to take this end right here. I'm going to flip it over. We're going to do the same thing. So use your fabric that's on the back as a guide. So I can see my fabric right here. So that means I know I want to put it right here. Again, I'm going to tape it. All right, now that we're done taping, let's go ahead and flip it back over. I like to just press, make sure my tape is good and ready to go. We're going to take it back to the hoop, and we're going to run the placement stitch right here. All right, so now that we went ahead, we ran our placement stitch, we can go ahead and we can remove our tape. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and flip it over. I like to make sure it goes right up against the zipper teeth. Alright, once you get it up to the zipper teeth, go ahead. I like to tape my sides down. I'm going to flip over. We're going to do the same thing to our other side. You don't want to just pull and push all the way because then when you run your placement, it is going to run it right next to it. So I like to make sure there is a little bit of overlap. And if you look very, very carefully, you can actually see your zipper stitches from inside the hoop. So I like to just kind of roll it over. And then we're just going to tape. Flip it back over. Press nice and firm. We're going to go ahead and take this back to our machine. We're just going to be running a single line right here, which is our tack down. All right, now that we went ahead, we ran our line for the tack down. As you can see, it did run it on both sides. We're going to do the exact same steps that we did for the top, for the bottom. So again, you're going to look at your fabric. You want it going directional. So this is a directional print. So I'm going to be flipping it upside down and placing it on top of the zipper placement. I'm going to be taping it. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the exact same for this side. I'm going to put it right up against the bottom line for our box for our zipper. I'm going to flip it back over. Press. Make sure your tape is in good. I'm going to take it back to the hoop and we're going to run that placement. Alright, so we went ahead, we ran our placement stitch. Now we can go ahead and remove our tape. We're going to do the exact same thing as we did before. You're going to flip it over. So you're going to flip it over. And again, I like to make sure I'm right up against those zipper teeth. And then I tape again. I'm going to flip our hoop over. Do the same thing. Flip it back over. We're going to press. If you want, you can use a little basting spray to help keep everything in place. Let's go ahead and take it back over to our machine. We're going to run our next placement. Alright, so since we went ahead, we ran our next placement stitch. If you want, you can go ahead and remove your tape. You can smooth out your pieces if you like, and if you want to use basting spray to make sure they stick, that's completely up to you. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take our zipper. We are going to move it about a quarter to halfway. I did halfway. I'm going to tape my pull down because I don't want it jumping around. Then we're going to go ahead, we're going to take our scissors, we're going to poke a hole right here, and we're going to cut out our stabilizer in the back. Alright, now that we cut our hole in the back, we're going to take our first piece of lining. I am using a fabric that it doesn't matter what side right side is, because it's printed on both sides basically. But if you are using a nice fabric, make sure right side is down facing your hoop. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to place it right there. I'm going to tape. Tape. And tape. Now we're going to go ahead and take this back to our machine. We are going to run our lining tack down, which will go like that. Our next step is to put our back lining fabric on, and we're just going to put it on our hoop like so, and then we're going to run the final placement. It will just be a single line. Now that we went ahead, we ran our last placement stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut this out What I'm going to do is I'm not going to cut any of the sides. I'm only going to cut right up here. I will cut the stabilizer, so I will go right up against but right here, I will use a 1/4 inch or about. So again, I'm going to go ahead and cut the edges of my hoop. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to remove all the tape. Should have done that first, but whatever. Oh well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my ironing board. Here's my front. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to fold it up. I'm going to iron right here. Then I'm going to flip it on the iron and iron it again. And I'm going to try and get this green part on the back. I'll be right back. All right, so there you have it. Here is hoop 2 with the zipper pocket. Now what we're going to do with this is we're going to set it aside. We still need to cut out our handle. I did this earlier. So here's our handle. I went ahead and cut it out. I did this earlier because it's very simple. No tutorial really needs to be done. It's just 2 pieces of fabric together. You can literally just put the 2 pieces of fabric together, run the placement, and then run them together. And then you can add your snaps later. Some of you all know that I do not like snaps. I do not like the cam snaps. I don't like the plastic look. I am using a metal snap piece. I will go over how to add these to your fabrics and how to do them in another video. But there we go. We have our handle. If you want, you can go ahead and just run this against your iron just to make it flat, because right now it is kind of a little bit on the puffy side. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly iron it, and then we're going to set this aside. All right, so now we are working on hoop number 3. So we're going to go over our materials. You're going to have a 10 by 7 piece of your inside lining fabric, a 10 by 7 piece of your outside lining fabric. I am using, again, the metal snap because I don't like the cam snaps. I don't like the plastic ones. But this is basically where you're going to put your snap. Go ahead and add it in freehand. Then you're going to take, and then you're also going to have your zipper pocket. So let's go ahead. We're going to get started. I already went ahead and ran the first placement of the flap. We're going to take our inside lining piece. This is very important. Do not put your back piece on this. This is not where this is going to go. You want your lining piece, because when you put it on, you're going to run your placement, and then the next step is you're going to be running your pocket, and you'll be placing your zipper on it. So you want to have your lining pieces match. If you're not going to be doing the zipper pocket, just go ahead and get your 10 by 10, fold it in half, and then when you get to that step, you're going to put it on just like the zipper pocket. All right, so let's go ahead over to our machine, and we're going to run our placement. Okay, so we went ahead, we did run our placement. What we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and run our placement stitch for the pocket. Alright, so we went ahead and we ran our placement for the pocket. I went ahead and made it a different color just so that way you guys can see it better and I can see it, so when I'm lining up it's easier. Now you're going to take your zipper pocket. If you're not doing the zipper pocket again, go ahead and take your folded pieces of fabric. You're going to want to line up your stitch lines to that and tape. Don't worry, I'll be putting more tape on this. Again, do not be afraid of tape. It is your friend. We're going to go ahead, take it back to our machine. It's going to run the next placement for the pocket. All right, since we went ahead, we ran the tack down for it, we're going to be adding our lining fabric. What you're going to do is you're going to place it upside down. So that way when you go to flip it and you do that, it's got your fabric, if it's directional, is going to be the right side up. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to run that. All right, so we went ahead, we ran our final step for the flap. I'm going to take it out of our hoop. What I'm actually going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get our next hoop ready. We have one more hooping to go, which is assembling our bag. Alright, so what I went ahead and did is I'm actually going to be using 2 layers of cutaway. The bag is going to be decently heavy, so I do recommend using, if you have heavyweight cutaway stabilizer, or using 2 layers of medium. This is medium. Normally I just use 1. Sometimes I use 2 if the bag I know is going to be pretty heavy. So I do recommend using either a heavy stabilizer or using 2 layers of medium cutaway. Your hoop's not gonna like it. I had to adjust mine and then I had to retighten it pretty hard to make sure it accommodated the 2 layers. Set your hoop aside. We're gonna go ahead and cut this baby. Do not cut anything up here, just cut around with a 1/4 inch. I will go ahead and cut this though. You can cut your stabilizer out, that's fine. Go ahead, we're going to flip it through. If you want to, go ahead, you can iron it. But here we go. Here's our flap with our zipper pocket, our lining. It is fully lined. No seams are showing. I would go ahead and just leave that halfway. Here's our back, so when it hits our bag, when we go ahead and put it in, you will go ahead and see that it is upright, since we are using a directional print. All right, so let's go ahead and go over the next pieces for our for the finalizing of our bag. All right, so we already have, from our very first hooping, we have our handle. We have our flap with our zipper pocket. We need a zipper. We need some hardware. You can go ahead, this is an optional step. You can go ahead and nix it if you want to. I like putting hardware because if you want to go ahead and you put like a key fob on it, one of the little ribbon key fobs, you certainly can. We need our front fabric for the front of our bag, our card slot fabric, our inside lining fabric, our outside fabric, and our back lining fabric. Very simple. Before we even get started, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna do our cards. We're gonna unfold our fabric. I'm gonna bring it a little bit closer to me. You're gonna need a pen, and you're gonna need a ruler. This is a heat pen. So basically what this means is a ballpoint pen that I can write on fabric, and then the minute heat touches it, it disappears. It's awesome. I got it at Joann's. What we're going to do is we're going to come to the top, and for our card slots, we are going to go ahead, we're going to line up our fabric, make sure it is even. We're going to make, so your first line is going to be for 3 inches. You want to make sure you get it even. you take your pen, then you're going to move down 2 inches. Take your pen, and there you have it. You have 2 inches. You're going to do that again until you have 7 2-inch sections. All right, so there you have it. I don't know if you guys can see very closely. You can probably see a little bit better here. But 3 inches, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Now you're going to take this to your iron. What you're going to do is you're going to iron this first one down. You're going to flip it down. You're going to iron it. You're going to open it back up again. You're going to take this next spot. You're going to fold it at the line, and you're going to iron it again this way. Then this one, you're going to skip this one. You're going to go right here, crease it. I put my fingers on that line and I fold it up. I iron again. And I repeat until I am done. Let's go ahead, let's go over to the iron. I'm going to walk you through it one more time. We're going to do it with the iron. All right, so we're at the iron. What we're going to do is this very first line, remember, we're going to go ahead and we're going to flip it over. And you want to be careful, since this is a heat pen, if you go like this, all your lines are going to disappear. So just do it very gently on that line. See how we don't have a line anymore? It's because it went away. Now we're going to take our next line. We're going to pinch, and we're going to move it up. I'm going to iron it again. See how our line disappeared? Then what we're going to do is we're going to skip this line. We're going to go right here. We're going to pinch right here. Put your fingers right at that base. Okay, you're being silly here. Stop, stop, stop. Thank you. Take your fingers, and then you're going to pinch at that base. We're going to flip up. Repeat again. And now since that was your last card slot, you can go ahead and iron the rest of it. All right, let's go ahead and take this back to our cutting table. All right, so now that we're back at our cutting table, what I'm going to do, since these card slots tend to be finicky, I'm going to tape them. So that way, when I go to handle them, they're not falling apart on me. They stay put. Set this aside. I went ahead, I already ran our placement box for our zipper, so we're going to go ahead and take our zipper. We're going to grab our tape. Remember what I said, a little bit goes a long way. Go ahead, remove. We're going to go ahead, place it in our box. I'm going to move our zipper a little bit. If you're working with one of these fancy pulls, tape is your best friend with these. All right, so that we have our zipper now placed, we're going to go ahead and take this to the machine. We're going to run our tack down. All right, so the next thing we're going to do after we went ahead, we ran the tack down, I took my 10x4 piece, I folded it in half and I ironed it. You do not have to iron it if you don't want to, but what I'm going to do now is I want to look at my print, since this is a directional. I'm going to place it up against the zipper tape. since this is a directional, I want to be looking at the correct side, so that way when I go to fold over, I'm looking at the correct side again. If you accidentally do it upside down, you will not see that your guys will be upside down. So we're going to go ahead and tape. We're going to take it back to our hoop. We're going to be running our placement stitch right here. We went ahead and we ran the placement stitch. I'm going to go ahead and just remove this tape. We're going to go ahead and run the box, the placement box for your card holders. Alright, so we went ahead, we ran our tack down, and then we ran our placement for our card holders. You're still going to leave this up. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our card holder. We're going to place it in the box. What I like to do is I like to flip this end piece up, and right here is the bottom of my card holders. And what I'll do is I'll put that towards the bottom. Then I'll flip it over. And I'll just straighten my card slots out. I'm going to tape them down. And then I'm going to take this back to the machine. Again, it's okay if your stitching runs over your tape. It's just like tearaway stabilizer. It'll tear away. It's really, as long as you're using masking tape, you're fine. But let's go ahead and take this back to our machine. Alright, so we went ahead and did the card holders. You can go ahead and remove your tape. If you want to test out your card holder to make sure they worked and you did it correctly, just take a card and slide it in, and it looks like we did them correctly. They are sliding in perfectly. Alright, so next what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead, take your tape off your top. You're going to fold this guy over. Again, I like to make sure it's right up against the zipper teeth. You're going to take some more tape. You're going to tape them down. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be running the placement line right up here for the card holders. You want to make sure your top piece is above that line. So the top line of your card holders, you guys can't really see that here. So the top line of your card holder, you want to make sure this is just above. Okay, we're going to take this back to the hoop and we're going to run the placement line. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do after we ran our placement, see how pretty that is? We're going to flip our hoop over. We are going to take our inside lining. This is a 10 by 14 piece folded in half. We're going to place it right on top. Place it right on top. Hold on. Take your tape. Now we're going to go ahead and flip it over. I like to press. Make sure it's there. We're going to go ahead and take it back to our machine, and it's going to be running the placement stitch for the inside lining. Alright, so we went ahead, we ran our placement and our lining, so it is now sealed on the inside. We are going to go ahead and move our zipper. Move it 1/4 to a 1/2 inch. If you're going to be using normally at this point I would be poking a hole and cutting out my stabilizers on the back, but I'm actually not going to do that with this bag, and there's a couple reasons why. I'm using one of these fancy pulls, and I have noticed lately, for some whatever reason, my machine is not liking them. So I'm not going to be doing that right now. If you want to, if you know your machine and you know your machine's going to be okay with it, go ahead and cut out your stabilizer on the back. If you are not sure, I am going to be mad taping this guy because, like I said, my machine, for whatever reason, has not been liking pulls when I cut my stabilizer out. So I'm actually going to save that for the last. So what I'm doing is I am taping my entire zipper down. Like I said, my machine is just, she needs to go in for a cleaning anyway, so she needs to get taken care of. But go ahead, tape your pole in place. At this point, you would normally cut your stabilizer out. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to skip that for now. What we're going to do now is we're going to take it back to the hoop. We're actually going to be running our placements for our handle, our flap, and our hardware. All right, so now we are at the point where we're going to be adding all of the fun stuff. This is why I said to use 2 layers of stabilizer, because this is going to make it a little on the heavy side. I am going to go ahead and take my flap. I'm taping my pole just for safety and precaution. Make sure it doesn't squiggle everywhere. It's going to stay in the middle anyway, but we're going to take our first piece of hardware. I'm going to tape it. Actually, we're going to take it and tape it. Because like I said, my machine for some reason has been very picky. And tape. And what I'm going to do, this is actually a little kind of trick I figured out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to snap my snaps together. I'm going to place my flap just below my zipper. We're going to put it right up against that zipper. I'm going to hold it down. I'm going to put my first piece of tape right there. A second piece of tape. And it should be right, yep. And then I'm going to go ahead and just tape my handle down. Of course, my tape doesn't want to. Again, do not be afraid to use tape. It will not hurt your machine. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and take this back to our machine, and we're going to run the stitches. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take our fabric, our back fabric, we're going to place it on top, right sides facing together. If you're using directional, you just want to make sure it is right side up. Go ahead and place it gently on the top. I am using batting. You do not have to. I just like the feel of the batting. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to run the next step, which is to secure it all together. Alright, so now we ran the second to last step, which is just enclosing and putting the back on. If your batting does this, do not worry, it's fine. We're going to flip it over. If this happens, just go ahead and take your seam ripper, pop that seam. We're done. Now we're going to take our back fabric, or our back inside lining fabric, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to place it on top. Take your tape, Take your tape, tape it on, press. Let's take it back to our machine. We're gonna run our final stitch. All right, we're almost done. Let's go ahead and we're gonna take this out of our hoop. So what we're gonna do next is we're going, right here, you'll see that's where there's gonna be the opening. We're gonna just cut 2 lines right down. Then we're gonna cut around, giving ourselves about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, throw your extras away. All right, so this guy is a little bit on the tricky side to flip, so I'm gonna give you guys some tips. I like to stick my finger in. I will go to a corner and I'll just start pulling the corner through. I have a habit of pinching my seams where they meet the edges so they don't pop. And I will just finagle this guy through. This one doesn't want to seem to come. But be gentle. Just keep pulling him through. I pop my corners. And see, there you have it. We did not pop a seam. Woohoo! I'll take my dowel and I'll just kind of push him through a little bit. Just even out the corners. You don't have to worry about too much of the top corners because we can easily deal with those later. We will take our hem tape. Cut a little bit. At this point, I'm going to cut a little bit more. You don't need so much fabric. Fold them in. Pull your hem tape. Press it. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to take my seam ripper. I'm actually going to create a little hole for, this is where I told you guys I was going to cut a little bit later. Now I'm going to take my applique scissors. But if you know your machine, go ahead and cut it while it's still in the hoop. For this in particular design, since I was using a special pole, my machine, since it's not linking them right now, I went ahead and just left it alone so there was no chance for the pole to get stuck in an opening. A lot of people have asked me why I don't use tearaway for these, and the reason why is I do not like tearaway in my bags because I don't like hearing that crinkle. And if I wanted to wash my bag, I couldn't with tearaway, because if you wash your bag with tearaway, sometimes the tearaway will kind of crumble inside and it'll just become mushy and you'll have like little dents and stuff. Alright, so now I'm pulling the tape off my pole. We're almost to the reveal, guys. There's the tape. I'm just gonna kind of leave it like that for the moment. And open it up. We're gonna flip our bag. Like I said, here's where we can really work our corners. Take your tapes off. Right here you can work your corners nicelier. And there you guys have it. You just completed your jelly bean in the hoop wallet. How awesome is that? And the cards fit. right there. And also if you guys have a smartphone, it will fit right in there, so you can fold her up and you can take her on the town. Alright guys, there you have it. There was the tutorial for the jelly bean wallet. I will leave the links for all the hardware that I used in the description. Feel free to comment if you have any questions. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, guys. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day and happy stitching.